Well, so tonight, Ghana has recorded its worst press freedom ranking in nearly 2 decades, dropping 30 places in the latest Press Freedom Index. Now, the index, actually compiled by Reporters Without Borders, ranked Ghana 60th. The rankings come on the back of the recent reports that Ghanaian government has been clamping down on dissent and claims of a surge in press freedom violations. In the 2021 report, Ghana was ranked 30th out of 180 countries. But this year, Reporters Without Borders say government has become intolerant of criticism. Well, we'll be getting into the details of the report. My colleague Kweku Asante is on standby to help us with the details of that report. But what you have here right now is the situation map. You have Ghana right here ranking 60th on the Press Freedom Index. But Kweku Asante will help us understand what it is that is accounting for our drop 30 places on the index. So Kweku, first of all, help us understand our profile right here. What's accounting, first of all, for the situation that we find ourselves in? Kweku, we seem to be having a challenge hearing you, but if you could unmute and break it down for us. What we have now is the situation in Ghana. Obviously, there are a number of factors accounting for what's happening. There's the issue of the media landscape, the political context, and then the go-ahead to talk about the economic context and then the safety of journalists. But Kweku, if you can hear me this time around, let's start off from the very first point that has been made here, the issue about the media landscape. What's really been attributed to the situation while we're seeing a drop in press freedom? Okay, so probably I could help you out with what we have here. If you look at the media landscape, it appears that clearly there's a challenge in terms of how the media is constantly evolving. But then we know that in Ghana, we're dealing with a constitutional framework. The 1992 Constitution obviously is authorizing new media outlets. And we know as well that we have about 100 media outlets operating here in our country. Now, the report is indicating very clearly that the most popular state-owned broadcasting corporation, which is GBC, is amongst that tall list that we have. But many of the press houses are now establishing internet sites, which the report is talking about. Then talks about the fact that there is a growth in reach for some media outlets, including Joy News, and the list goes on. But then, in terms of the political contest, there is the concern that obviously the country is considered to be a regional leader in terms of democratic stability, but that is no longer the case. So we'll break all of that down for you. But let's bring in Suleiman Ibrahima, who is the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa. He's joining us live on phone now. Thank you, sir, for your time. So the report is out there. We're about breaking down the details. But in your own view, did you see this coming in the first place?
The writings were all clear on the wall. We had talked about it. We had raised concerns several times, but it appeared that it was of no concern to the government. The abuses continued to happen, and so and just about 2 weeks ago, when I had an interview with the BBC, I did make it clear that if what we have been witnessing continues, there's certainly going to be a decline in our press freedom ranking. What I did not foresee was this significant drop. But certainly, if you think of it that it's not one country that is being ranked, but 180 countries, the possibility then is that some countries will do well, just as we have seen now. Traditionally, it's always been Namibia, Botswana, Ghana, Cape Verde at the top 4. But suddenly we are seeing Seychelles Island come to be number 1 in Africa. Namibia, traditionally a great performer. And then we have Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Burkina Faso, and other countries are now popping up and actually doing well ahead of Ghana. So whilst we were dropping and deteriorating, others were improving. So it's a sad development, but that's the reality.
And there's a political context to the report that we are seeing today. In fact, the Reporters Without Borders is indicating very clearly here that government is intolerant of criticism. Are you also getting that sense at the Media Foundation for West Africa?
Well, that is the reality, and we need to speak. We need to speak the truth. That is the reality, and that is why the law on publication of false news is being applied under this government more than any other government since Kufuor's era, President Kufuor's era. Indeed, it's quite sad that it's been applied so rampantly at a time when the president who had spoken against that particular law and actually described it as unconstitutional is the president of our country today. The fact that a radio station is stormed, a journalist is picked up on the basis that he had put out something that is apparently false against the First Lady, it amounts to, using it force to indicate or to show where power lies. Eventually, what happened? The matter was taken to the National Media Commission, and the commission settled it and found that what the journalist did was unprofessional, and indeed the journalist and the station could not back that up. So you ask yourself, if you knew the NMC option was there, why did the police storm the place in the first place? So as for the intolerance, I think that it is something that we all know if we want to speak the truth.
Well, but I guess the dynamics of the rankings is what some are yet to come to terms with, particularly when you look at nations such as the Republic of Burkina Faso, for instance, which is ranked 41 on the index. And yet you have a well-established democracy such as Ghana dipping down 30 places. This is a place where we know of the story, the security situation, and how deteriorating democracy is in such a territory. Why is it the case that some of these countries appear to be performing better than Ghana?
Well, first of all, the index is not democratic index. It's not ranking countries on the basis of democratic credentials, which then will bring in other factors. This is press freedom ranking. And so if a country is being governed by military officers, and yet the dynamics indicate that they are better off in terms of their ability and the freedoms that journalists have to exercise their fundamental rights, I mean, I don't think that the mere fact that that country is being governed by military dictators or military officers would then mean that necessarily that country would do poorly. It is the same organization that has been ranking these countries on press freedom for the last so many years. It is the same organization that ranked Ghana as #1 in 2018, and we all celebrated. And it's the same country organization that has been ranking Ghana, Namibia, Botswana, and the rest as the top performers. So, and indeed, as I said earlier, we had all raised concerns about what was happening. In February, I wrote 2 pieces. One, I highlighted the infractions that media personnel and media organizations are committing in terms of unprofessionalism and all of that. That is not to say, of course, that any abuses will be justified. The second piece was what I titled A Letter to the President, in which I was highlighting concerns about the rampant application of the law on publication of false news and the President's position on that law in 2011. Of course, we know that there are serious infractions against journalists that have not been resolved. Ahmed Swale, the storming of modern Ghana offices by national security personnel, the storming of City FM, City TV, the national security operatives beating up a journalist in Asankregwa, Latif Idris's incident, and so many of them, including the politically motivated closure of radio stations aligned with the opposition political parties. I mean, you don't expect that a country like Ghana, where we've gotten to in terms of our democracy, would be experiencing some of these developments. And so that's why I said it is quite sad that we are where we are today, which really has a very, very negative light on our credentials when it comes to human rights. But that is what it is. You know, we've been speaking about it. We've been warning. We've been raising the alarm. And then we are either abused, we are, said to be very biased against the government. In fact, again, by people who I would say I endorse the kind of journalism that they did that actually took them to exile than what they want today while they are in government. The type of praise-singing journalism, But
Right.
that's the reality.
I see. Suleiman Ibrahim, just hold on for us briefly. There's more that we're learning about this report. In fact, we're still combing through the report. My colleague Kweku Asante is also with us. Kweku, now we do know that the report cited poor compensation of journalists. That's one of the reasons for this drop. How do they really explain that?
So if you look at the economic context for the report, it states, among other things, that media outlets face some form of financial challenges. And so that affects how media houses are able to remunerate their workers. And this inability to pay workers well could mean that then workers are self-centered, or then they start working in a way that puts them in the hands of politicians. But the other angle is also that if these media houses are facing financial challenges, then they are less critical of government, because we know in an economy like Ghana's economy, where the government is the biggest in terms of procurement, government advertising and other things, some media houses may not want to lose out on that.
Right.
And so they would decide personally that they will not cover certain stories, or they will cover. And so all these issues have been raised by the Reporters Without Borders as informing this latest ranking that has led Ghana to drop 30 places from the last ranking, where we were 30th, and now we are 60th. We were 3rd in Africa last year. We are now 10th in Africa. And countries like Burkina Faso, just like you heard Suleiman Ibrahim explains, now doing better than us. Of course, it's not about democracy, but the idea that a country that is ruled by a military dictatorship, which ordinarily will be seen to be clamping down on media rights, are actually doing better than a country that is being ruled by independence, is something that people have been raising concerns about.
And Kweku, help us understand more about this. The COVID-19 period, we understand that during the lockdown, there were some attacks on journalists. Did they raise some of the specific situation or instances where some of these incidents happened?
So in the heat of 2020, when media was reporting about some of the measures government had put in place, and some of these measures that others have raised concerns about its efficacy, some media personnel were attacked by security personnel. Some were attacked by independent media, independent organizations. We did not want these media men and women to shed light on the specifics. We actually also have situations when the food distributions and other things were going on. And so these specific issues were raised as one of the key issues. It also talks about attacks on the media or threats against journalists that no action has been taken against. We know the incident of Latif Idris. Up to now, the police say they are still investigating. We know there are threats that were made against Erastus Asaridonko by a certain member of parliament, Kennedy Japan. Still nothing of that sort in terms of the investigation has been concluded. And so all these issues have gone into the report filed by the Reporters Without Borders, which has slumped Ghana's record on press freedom. We know that it became a very big issue in the last few weeks with BBC's reports and Madame Elizabeth Ohene's rebuttal and all the issues that have come up. But clearly it doesn't look good for Ghana.
Kweku, and obviously I'm sure that there's more that you would unveil in the coming days. Suleiman Ibrahim, you're still with us. We've heard government on many occasions deny the fact that there's a crackdown on free speech. What should government be doing now when the verdict is out there for some? There's a scientific inquiry into what's happening with regard to press freedom.
Well, first of all, within a space of less than 1 month, the BBC have raised concerns about our press freedom credentials in a program that they produced recently. The U.S. State Department, in its human rights report, raised concerns about deteriorating press freedom conditions. And now Reporters Without Borders has done the same thing. We here in Ghana have been raising these concerns over and over again. Essentially, what these international organizations have done is to affirm what we have been talking about. We work across West Africa. And if you go through our report, you would notice that sometime late last year, we did commend the Sierra Leonean government for a significant improvement in their press freedom, handling of press freedom issues. And it is therefore not surprising that you find it that for the first time, Sierra Leone does better than Ghana and is among, let's say, the top 50 countries. We have raised the same, significant positive development on Cote d'Ivoire. For the first time, Cote d'Ivoire is in there, ahead of Ghana. So I think that it's important we take these concerns that are expressed locally and internationally so important. We need to work on improving our credentials because we cannot say that we love democracy. Democracy has been good for us, and at the same time, not love press freedom and make press freedom what it has to be. If press freedom dies, democracy dies. And so we all have a responsibility. The government must stop this constant denial and let us all work together to improve press freedom conditions in our country. We are not saying that the media are perfect. Journalists do all manner of unprofessional things at all times. The laws are there. When a journalist commits a crime, the laws must work. But otherwise, I don't think that the way to go is to use state force to brutalize journalists here and there in a manner that is, so untoward for a democracy like Ghana.
Well, so I guess we'll have to leave it here. That's the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima. In fact, there's more on press freedom as we speak. There's a caution coming through from the European Union. Press freedom is a key value for democracy that must be nurtured by all stakeholders. That's the advice from Ishad Razali, the head of the EU mission here in Ghana. The latest press freedom, as we are learning of, has actually downgraded Ghana by 30 index points, making it the worst assessment report in the history of the country's fourth democratic dispensation. Now, commenting on the latest development, Ambassador Ishad Razali says the Ghanaian authorities have a responsibility to deal with the situation. He, however, stated that the EU will not meddle in the political affairs of the country.
Press freedom is a key value for democracy worldwide. This is the case as well in Ghana. And for our case, we have followed with great interest and great care the follow-up to this case because this was an important development. And last year, or this year, the government has adopted a right to information legislation, which only reinforces the press freedom, and we are supporting that very much, and we are welcoming that very much. So, as we've said, freedom, expression, journalism are key values, key capital to nurture. We have to do it together. You have your role to do that. We have our assessment, but the key actors are the Ghanaian institutions.
Already the international ratings are not giving us a good picture in terms of how we're performing when it comes to guaranteeing the safety of journalists. Do you feel that this is an area we should improve on?
No, this is part of the many responsibilities of the Ghanaian authorities, the Ghanaian journalists, the Ghanaian watchdogs, and other people who are looking after this area. Yes.
The opposition political party here in Ghana feels that there's a culture of silence which is creeping into our society, and there would be a need for the international community to intervene and to help deal with the issues. They've, for instance, roped in the courts, claiming that it's not as independent as it should be. Is the EU concerned about this? Have you received the reports, and what are you likely to do to mediate and to ensure that there is peace in this country?
What we are likely to do is absolutely not meddling into that development, because this is the responsibility of the Ghanaian authorities, and as far as I'm concerned, there is no civil war in Ghana. So there is absolutely no reason for us to impose ourselves into a situation. There is rule of law, there are watchdog bodies, there is an independent justice, and everybody is in a position to make its claim and to get justice served. So I would like to challenge the very idea that we would have a responsibility, or we would have a role to play in order to make things right into the Ghanaian landscape.
But the fear is we've exhausted all internal mechanisms, and that's why the main opposition political party is raising such concerns. Don't you feel that you're lukewarm about this? There's a need at least to have some influence to try and come in and try and ensure that
I'm very surprised that in 2022,
right,
in the very country of Nkrumah, you are asking for external actors to have an influence on Ghana. Is it what you are saying? Are you calling external actors to have an influence over Ghanaian government or Ghanaian country?
This is what mediation is what we need. If the opposition political party had an option,
I don't believe this is a serious discussion.
They wouldn't have resorted to the international community.
No. I don't believe in international intervention into a sovereign country's affair.
The fear is we may go the path of other countries in the sub-region if you don't come in to at least speak to all the powers that be.
We'll see how it develops, but I don't believe this is.